All right, sports fans, football fans, welcome out to another episode of the Gridiron 64 podcast. This will be episode number 13, and we're gonna break down the first round of the playoffs. We had a lot of games that we had last week that we previewed, so we're gonna break down those games and let you guys know how teams that won. Most of the teams here in the Coastal Bend area will advance to the second round. There were a few that didn't make it, but we'll give you the list. We'll run down the list and we'll break down all the games that were on the GI64 schedule last week. And of course, we're going to preview also tonight the second round of the playoffs. Of course, the Coastal Bend teams, and we've got a few that are not from the Coastal Bend area that we'll talk about as well as we get into the second round. Most of these teams are from the Coastal Bend area are there, are 5A, 4A. For our district, all four teams advanced to the second round, which was nice to see. Rockport-Fulton, Sinton, Port Isabel, and Ingleside all advanced to the second round. So that was great to see. And I want to wish, of course, all four of those teams luck in their second round. But I'm going to pass it over to Big T, Tony Pena. He leads us in the GI64 breakdown and preview. So Big T, take it away. You got to move your thing down. It's up and can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Like Gabriel said, most of the teams in the area did make it to the second round. We're going to run down these really quick, guys. If you got some comments on the game, give them. If you don't have any comments, just say you don't have no comment. So first game I have on the list, we have the Rockport Pirates, getting a big win over Hondo, the Hondo Owls. I know we break this game down on the Pirates Cove on Thursday this week. I'll just go to each of you anyways. Johnny, you have anything to say about this game?
No, it was just a great start for the Pirates, with a 34-10 halftime lead, they just exploded there to the rest of the game. Not surprisingly for the Pirates at all, what they scored and what they gave up. Pretty much my prediction.
Yep, pretty close. Steve?
Yeah, no, I really thought the defense played extremely well and were flying all over the field, making play after play, and really broke the hearts of this team going into the second half. And after that, there wasn't much of a fight there. But great job, great execution of the game plan by both the offense and the defense. But I just can't say enough of the way about the how well the Rockport's defense is playing right now. They're really playing lights out right when they're supposed to. Right. I mean, this is the time of the season where you should be peaking, and I believe that we are peaking. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm looking forward to this second round matchup, man, going in this coming week. So I'm excited and was really happy to be a part of that game.
Absolutely. We're all excited about that. And then congratulations to you and Gabriel. I know Jamie posted something, had like 3,000 viewers watching that live stream. So good job to you two guys for bringing that game to all the fans that couldn't make it. Yeah. Gabriel?
No, I'm going to kind of save it. I know we're going to be really breaking it down in detail on Wednesday, so I'll wait till then. I know that there was some comments on our YouTube, GT Sports YouTube, people asking, well, there was a guy that was asking if we were going to break this Cuero Rockport game down. And so I sent a message back, but yes, we will, but we'll go more into detail on Wednesday when we actually break this game down. But it was a great game, I think, for Rockport. We're playing great football, Tony, at the right time. And this last game with Hondo, our offense and defense both playing well with 3 picks and 2 of them being taken back to the house, I think it was, if I'm correct. And then offensively, man, our passing game has just been great the last 2 to 3 weeks. So just playing great football at the right time. So we'll see what happens, but we'll break this game down between Cuero and Rockport and this Hondo and Rockport more on Wednesday on the Pirates Cove.
Yes, absolutely. And also, for anybody who does watch, they did have some really good interviews. Steve had some really good interviews after the game. So if you have time, go and watch those. Those are on the GT YouTube channel, correct? The
They
three
are.
interviews.
Yes, yeah, they are. They're on the GT Sports YouTube page, and then they've been also forwarded to the Pirates Cove Facebook, and I think the Twitter page as well. I don't know if I put it on Twitter, but I know the Facebook. So yeah, you can go to YouTube GT Sports, or you can go to Pirates Cove Facebook, and you'll see them in there. Actually, Steve, they've been getting. I know 2 of them have over 300 views in less than 4 days, and I know the other one's over 200. So yeah. There were great interviews that Steve did with Coach Seibert, Peyton McAllister, and Ricky
And-
Franks.
Yep. All right. I just wanted to make sure I said that so people could check that out because they were
Absolutely.
really, really good interviews.
They were.
Next game we have CC Vets taking on the Vets from the Valley. In this game, CC Vets take care of business 28-0. Johnny, what are your thoughts? Anything?
I got to give a little show to old Aiden Hinojosa, who came in with as a backup. 267 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Are the starters out? The starters out. Aiden Hinojosa is picking up the slack where it's at. So hey, he's keeping the Vets going.
Awesome. Steve, what are your thoughts? Anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, Vets did what they were supposed to do. I thought the point output wasn't, offensively. I think they might have had their struggles. Of course, I wasn't at the game, and I'm not finding much stats on the defensive side for the Chargers, but 28 points to a Vets team that's seasoned and playoff tested, what I'm saying, that they're really going to have to turn it up a notch. I know the coaches probably will in the second round. I'm saying 28 points. I mean, you won the game and you did what you're supposed to do, but I think they should have put up more points against that Valley team.
Yep, absolutely. Gabriel?
No, I was going to say basically more or less what Steve said. So no, I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, just to Johnny's point, I didn't know that they had a backup quarterback, so that that might attribute to some of that. So just for a backup quarterback to go in there and score 28 points, and then defense to hold them to nothing. That's really big.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey,
But
Johnny, hold up. Johnny, do you know when that quarterback for Vets is coming back by any chance?
I don't know.
Mhm. But again, they did play the number 4 team in that district, and which brings me to the next matchup we have. We have the number 4 team in that 5A district, Victoria West, taking on their number 1 team, the McAllen Memorial Bulldogs. Are they the Bulldogs? I know there was another McAllen team. Is that them?
Yeah, no, the other one's a Mustang.
Okay, yeah. So we have Vets. CC Victoria West falling 28-50 to McAllen Memorial. To me, this was a shocker, and I know we all kind of agreed, that the Valley wasn't really bringing a whole lot to the table as far as the teams around here in this area. But McAllen Memorial came to play, and they really put a whipping on Victoria West. Johnny, what are your thoughts on that game?
I have no thoughts because I skipped over it.
Steve?
Well, I tell you, Victoria West possessed the ball for the majority of that game. You know what I'm saying? They had their chances. They had the ball for over 25 minutes, and they just weren't able to score enough points. That it came to a shocker. I really was surprised. I thought Victoria West had a great season and was really gonna, we're not putting enough stock in these Valley teams. I think we've all been guilty of that at one point or the other this season. and maybe they were too at this point. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Victoria West went in there a little big headed and thought they were going to roll over this team, but you know they're a number one seed for a reason, right? Number one, number two.
They
Yeah,
should have been. They should have been number one
yeah.
because
So
Victoria West was number 4.
number
So
4. Uh, so I mean, unfortunately, they weren't part of that. I mean, there was a huge. I seen something on a podcast today. There was 26 number 4s over number 1 wins this past weekend. 26. That's crazy, right? So unfortunately, Victoria West wasn't part of them, and you know, they took the loss. But it doesn't take away from a great season that them boys had. I think they had a great season, duking it out in a pretty tough district over there. And I think Victoria West will be back next year. Let's see if they don't swap like they did last year last year to this year, east to west. You know what I'm saying? So let's see if they can keep it. Let's see if they can keep it going and build off of this season. You know, it's not a total failure for those guys. You know what I'm saying? They made the playoff in a tough district and had to go up against the number 1 seed, and apparently just ran into a buzzsaw. So you know, it's back to the drawing board for these guys. And you know, I'll be watching Victoria West next year. I think they're really scrappy, bro. I mean, I couldn't help but talk about them, right? They're coming up every week, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, great job by those guys. And like I said, I'll be checking them out next year.
yeah, absolutely. And they did have to fight to get into the playoffs because you know, it was pretty tight there at the end between them, East and Moody. So they won the games they had to win to get into the playoffs at the end of the season. So good job to Victoria West and congratulations on a good season. Gabriel?
I wasn't surprised that they lost. I thought they had been inconsistent pretty much the whole year. You know, kind of up and down. You see them, man, and they'd surprise us. Like, hey, man, okay, they won big. This is the Victoria West team that we know, right? And then a week or two later, boom, they're getting beat by a team that we thought they should win. So playing the number 1 seed, it really came down to the Valley teams. How good was that competition? I thought that Victoria West would struggle. I didn't think that they'd get beat by the score that they got beat, but I didn't think they were going to win this game. I thought that was the one team in that 5A D1 in our area that was going to be knocked out, and sure enough, they were. Doesn't take away from what Steve said, though. I just thought they're playing in a really tough district. They do with the teams that they've got, but you know, it's Betts. It's the other Victoria school, which for these two schools, East and West, they battle it no matter what. It's going to be a tough game. Then they got Betts. GP was a surprise for us this year. And then Flower Bluff kind of struggled a little bit. But really, that district with Moody kind of coming up a little bit, Victoria West, I think is still better than Moody. But the other 3 schools, that district wasn't as tough as it's been in the past. So I thought that they could compete. I thought that they would lose, but not by the score. So I was very surprised. We'll see what they do next year. Like Steve says, it's 1 year it's Victoria West, and the next year it's Victoria East, and it's Victoria West. So we'll see what happens. But I wasn't shocked that they lost.
Hey, so this was the Memorial Mustangs. This was my alma mater right here for 6 months anyway. Yeah, no, their standout guy was their running back, man. Alanis. He had 23 carries for 290 yards and five touchdowns. You know, wow. They're a strictly one running team. They only had 1 pass completion, 1 attempt, 1 completion. So they're strictly running team. And this guy looks like he dominated the field, man. 290 yards, 5 touchdowns. He definitely put his imprint on this game.
Yep, sounds like it. Next game we got the GP Wildcats with a huge win over the other McAllen team, 54-13. Johnny, got anything on this game?
Yeah, a little highlight to Dalvin Bates again. 28 carries for 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Brad Redden, 14 of 18. That's pretty good, 14 and 18. 175 yards, a touchdown, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns himself. That was a GP's first win in the playoffs in 7 years. So this. I think they're turning around a young team. They're back. They're back.
Absolutely, because their quarterback and their running back and their leading tackler are all coming back, and that guy on defense is a beast. I forget his name, but I remember looking him up. He is a beast. I think they got two guys on defense that are in the top middle linebackers or top tacklers in the area. Steve?
Yeah, man, and what's scary about GP is that the underclassmen are going to come up next year from the JV. They're only going to reload. They're not losing much already, right? They're already a pretty young team, but I look them to move up. There's a few players down there in the junior varsity that have some Rockport connections, and I've been kind of trying to keep tabs on them. And the kid's been doing super great. So I'm looking for that kid to come in, and he's going to add another huge target. I'm talking about big. I'm talking about like 6'4", 6'5" plus. You know what I'm saying? 200-pounder, big receiving type guy, tight end type, and he's really going to help GP. Reload next year, and I'm excited to see how far these guys can go, man. I've really been pulling for GP. I don't have that. See, I wasn't born in Rockport, so I don't have that natural hate towards Gregory-Portland that you guys have embedded into your core. So, I just recognize skill over there. Those guys are young. The coaches are doing a great job. And, best of luck, man, for the second round. I'm going to be pulling for them for sure.
Gabriel?
No surprise that they won. I thought they would. Now, the second round, when we preview, will be a little bit tougher. There'll be some competition when they play the second round. Not saying that they won't win it, but it'll be a little bit tougher, I think, for them than the first round. GP's coming alive. Veterans Memorial, we've had Ben Bittner on, the head coach for Vets. They've got a young team out there, too. They'll be coming back. So they're going to lose a couple people. Some couple of key players, but they're pretty young. Coach said we weren't able to get Coach Davis from GP, but we do know that they're going to be on. So this is going to be a really good matchup next year when Vets and GP, but they got a lot of their both teams are young and both in the playoffs. We'll see what Moody does, but this was a surprise year for GP. I think a lot of people didn't realize how good GP really was going to be. So hats off to Coach Davis for the job that he's done with these guys. I was talking to a guy from Portland. He said, listen, one thing that he did when he came in was he started playing tough teams. He was getting questioned, I heard, early on because, why did you pick Calallen? Because nobody, we hadn't made the playoffs in 7 years, and all of a sudden you got Calallen, then you're taking on Bernie. But we see now that I think, Coach Davis wanted to see, where's my team? How good can we be? You're not going to know that unless you play some really good teams. And T, you said it when they played Calallen, they got beat, but you thought that was in some ways a victory for Portland because of the amount of points that they were able to score on a ranked Calallen team at the beginning. Then you saw when they played Bernie, how they really weren't prepared. They just jumped in. But we saw that both of these games were competitive for GP, even though they lost. So we were like, well, wait a minute, it was an eye opener. And then it comes in. So Coach Davis is out there, GP, doing a real good job. These guys are winning because of the competition they faced early on. We didn't get the victories, but it taught us something. And I think it let him and his coaches know, hey, we didn't win these 2 games, right? But we were in the game. So we continue to work hard. We've got something here. So I think that helped out GP. And it's really going to be interesting, guys, as we preview week 2 when we get into it. But great win for the Wildcats. I think next year these teams are going to be better prepared for GP. They know they're going to be better next year. So I'm not saying that GP won't win these games, but I think Vets, Flower Bluff will know GP will be a lot better next year. They're going to have to play their A game to beat them. So I just think GP was a surprise. I didn't think a lot of people thought they didn't know what to expect from the Wildcats. Now they know they better get ready for the GP Wildcats because they're not coming. They've already arrived.
They've arrived.
So, yeah, it's going to be really good to see these guys. So we'll see what happens, but great win for the Wildcats.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next game we have the Flower Bluff Hornets, barely scraping by Rowe, with the 28-14 victory. I know a 2-touchdown win is really not scraping by when you're talking about the playoffs, but this is a team that I think they should have been able to score a lot more points on. Flower Bluff. We talked highly about them, maybe even beating Veterans Memorial before the season started, and then as the season progressed, we're like, oh yeah, no, that's not going to happen, because they haven't been playing up to the expectations that we gave them. Now I don't know if other people had if they achieve the expectations of other people, but amongst us, we thought we had much higher expectations for Flower Bluff. So to me, that this is a testament to the kind of season that they're having, and next week, playing tougher teams. I just don't know. I think they should have won bigger. Johnny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was expecting something bigger for Flower Bluff. I'd never seen McAllen Rowe having a dominant team down there ever. Um, but really, they didn't really have no great outstanding. I mean, their quarterback Nash, he didn't have such a big game himself. He's listed on there as a big player, but other than Connor Tyler, he had 130 yards, but that's on 20 carries. That's a lot of carries just for 120 yards. So we'll see how they go in the second round.
Yeah, no, they definitely got a big matchup in the second round. Steve?
Yeah, well, I mean, defensively they played fairly well. They only gave up like but man, I can't total that up fast enough, but somewhere near 150 yards rushing. So um the the Rowe, they couldn't muster up anything on offense. They got very little production out of their quarterback, and kind of spread out the run a little bit, but no one hit over 50 yards. They had four backs at 40 some yards, and so they didn't have enough firepower. I actually picked Rowe in this game just based off of the season that Flower Bluff had. I know they played some tough teams, but they were struggling here and there. You know what I'm saying? So I went with Rowe on this one, just kind of throwing a long shot there. But I mean, they just couldn't muster up enough offense to do anything with Flower Bluff. So Flower Bluff gets by, they do enough to get the W, and it's on to the second round. So when it's all said and done, that's what the stat line is going to show, that they're playing in the second round and Rowe's not. You know what I'm saying? So let's see how Flower Bluff is going to build off of this W, and I'm not sure who they're playing in the second round, but it's only going to get tougher. So we'll see how it goes.
They moved from the Valley to San Antonio area, so it's definitely going to be tougher.
Oh wow, yeah.
Uh, so I have you down for Flower Bluff. So am I switching your pick to Row? I could do that real quick.
I thought I picked Rowe.
I mean, I
Maybe
could
that
I
was
could put
one
a,
of the ones.
I give you that L.
No, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna
Oh.
take the W. Yeah, I knew the boys had it in them, man. I knew they had it. That
Gabriel?
must have been one of those things where I was thinking that Flower Bluff, and then at the last second, you guys convinced me not to go with the Valley team.
Yeah, no, it was this next one. It was this next one that we'll talk about. But let me see what Gabriel has to say about Flower Bluff.
Um, well, they won. I mean, like Steve said, I mean, the defense played great for Flower Bluff, but it really comes down to Flower Bluff. They've been very inconsistent all year. They lose to some teams like GP. They had a bad game. They started off really bad. GP jumped on them, and then of course they tried to make a comeback, but they were too far behind. But then you see them with Veterans Memorial. Vets is one loss comes to Flower Bluff, who really dominated that game against a pretty good Vets team. So, this game they didn't play very good. They did enough to win this game. But I'm telling you guys, the second round will be tougher for Flower Bluff. But they have shown this year that they can play. They've just been very inconsistent. So, what Flower Bluff team will you get in the second round? Will you get the team that played against GP, which their season will end? But if you get that team this week in the second round that played Vets, man, they may be going to the third round. So that's the thing with Flower Bluff. Very inconsistent this year, but they do have the capabilities of putting a good game together and getting past that second round to the third round. So we'll preview it as it comes. But I thought that they would score a little bit more as well. But hey, a win's a win. You get a two TD win, that's a win. We'll take it and advance to the second round. So, good job by the Flower Bluff Hornets to get to the second round.
Absolutely, and that might just be their thing. I mean, they might just be a team that does enough to get the W. They may not be a team that tries to score a bunch of points. I don't know, and the reason that I agree with the inconsistency is because, if you look at their season, they've lost to two teams. They lost to GP and lost to Veterans Memorial. So those are good football teams. You know what I mean? And they've won every game other than those 2 games. But my thing is that they didn't beat those other teams by as much as they should have beat them, and
There you go.
that's where I see their struggle. Maybe that's just their thing. Maybe they just do enough to win. I mean, that's possible. So we'll see. We'll see what they do next week. So this Steve, this is the one where you win with the Valley. We got the Beeville Trojans
Yeah.
with a big win. Well, I don't want to say a big win, but this is one of those number fours taking out those number ones. We got the Beeville Trojans taking out the number one in that area, La Feria, 42-35. So, this was a close game if you were watching it. I remember it was 35-35, and then Beeville goes out and scores another touchdown. So this was a really close game, but Beeville, remember Beeville barely made it into the playoffs, barely, and now they're going on to the second round, knocking off the first place team in the other district. Johnny, what do you have to say about this game?
Well, first of all, La Feria had 2 losses this year. Their first loss was against Beeville in the preseason. So that was the getaway for me on that one. It was nothing about 1-4 on this one to me. They played already once. I didn't think, just being a Valley team, I don't think you're going to come back and beat any team from around here, especially La Feria. Victor Gonzalez, he had a 201 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. 201 yards passing and 3 touchdowns and 61 yards on the ground. This got tight in the end. Beeville almost let it go. They almost let it go. When you said 35-35, yeah. They were outscored in the second half, 28-14.
That's right.
So they almost let it go. It became, La Feria came back, fighting on that one, and I saw that lead Beeville had, and I said, they got this. And then they got too tight. I was like, oh, they're going to let it go. But they held on to it, man. They scored one more time at the end. Can't hear you, Tony.
Part of how Beeville got through this game is look at the competition they faced all season. Their first loss, I think it was their first loss of the season, was to Flower Bluff, the team we just talked about. They lost to a good Flower Bluff team, especially in a higher classification. And then they lose to Calallen, they lose to Port Lavaca, and they lose to Miller. Most schools, it's going to be a tough game playing those guys. So, Beeville was already battle tested the whole season. They go in there with the record. The Feria probably thinks, oh, yeah, they beat us, but look at their record. They probably got worse, and went in as a number 4 seed, and then Beeville knocks them off. So, great job for Beeville. I know, Gabriel probably has something to say about this, but I'm gonna go to you next, Steve.
Yeah, no, for La Feria, the first half killed them. They scored 7 points in the first half, giving up 28, and that's a hard hill to climb. But hats off to them that they did. In the second half, the coaches went back in and got the boys fired up, and they came back and won the second half, right? But the thing is, you got to put 2 halves together. So La Feria didn't do that. So they got off the bus and got off to a sluggish start. But what happened was Beeville played a phenomenal defensive game. These guys had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sacks on the night. 10 sacks by Beeville. So defensively, those guys came out fired up in the first half. I'm figuring that in the first half, this is where they did all their damage. But 10 sacks for one defensive game. That's phenomenal. And they're all spread out. There's one guy who has 4. Lampkin had 4, but everybody else kind of spread it out. So it was coming from all angles. So Beeville really got after him on defense and shut down La Feria in the first half, and then it carried into the second quarter, and were able to put the brakes on La Feria because they were mounting a comeback, and it was super close at the end. But that Beeville defense really rallied and played well and came out with the W. So hey, hats off to Beeville. Yeah, and you know me, I haven't been on the Beeville bandwagon, pretty much all year. That I leave that to Gabriel. He does that enough for all four of us. So so I hadn't been, what I'm saying, but they really came to play on this game defensively. And they put up enough points to win. But I think the stars of this Beeville game this week was definitely their defense.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Gabriel, I know how you feel about Coach Sosa. What is your thought on this game?
Well, first and foremost, before I get to the game, I didn't have enough time to send the invitation to Coach Sosa to bring him
Oh
on.
yeah, I
But
forgot about that.
Yeah, I just we were real busy this week, but I looked at the schedule for round 2 for Beeville, and it's a winnable game for them. And I guarantee you that if they win the second round, I'm gonna definitely invite Sosa. I said I was gonna personally drive to Beeville and give him the invitation myself. That's what I said on
That's
the
what
podcast.
you said. You
So
did
I'll
say that.
drive down to Beeville, give him a call, and invite him myself. Now, I probably won't be able to have a meeting with him because obviously he don't know who I am and he's a busy man. But what I do is I can take my vehicle to Beeville, park outside, and make the call, send the invite there, like I said, and then come back. Listen, Beeville did great, and a lot of what Tony said is true. It's prepared them, Tony. If you look at their schedule, man, their record is not good for a playoff team, right? Especially going into the second round. But that's what the competition. I think Coach Sosa, and I don't want to speak for him, right? But I think they look at it, the big picture for great coaches, and I think he's a great coach. Great coaches, it's all about the playoffs. It's not about the regular season. They want to get into the playoffs, and they want to prepare for the playoffs. So you go into the playoffs with not the best record, but it's what you can do in the playoffs. And I think that this district has really prepared Beeville for this first round win. When they've had to play Calallen, they've had to see that offense from Calallen. They've had to see that offense from Calhoun. 3 offenses that are pretty darn good in your district in Miller, Calallen, and Calhoun. And then you got Alice, who didn't make the playoffs, but that offense ain't no joke either. So they've seen a lot of pretty much every week in district was a tough game for Beeville. They want enough to get in, and then they take out the number 1 seed. Now Johnny doesn't respect the Valley teams at all. I mean, he's come out and said that he don't have no respect for not one Valley team, right? So he don't care. So Johnny can't go and eat at a restaurant in the Valley. They know him down there if they're watching this. He don't like the Valley, but that just kind of shows you. I think La Feria was, to me, a good team, but it's the competition that Beeville was facing a lot tougher in district and in the regular season than what La Feria had to face. And that defense was prepared for their offense. I mean, you heard Steve say how well that defense played, right? So it's what they play in the district. And I think, Tony, that we'll preview that second round that they've got, but I've already taken a look at it. I'm not saying they're going to beat that team, but they've got an opportunity to beat that team. And so what would it be if Beeville could get into the third round? So definitely great job by Coach Sosa and his staff down there. Listen, last year they were in a lot of games and they picked it up. The thing with this team is they never quit. They were losing a lot of games and they continued to play tough and got themselves in the playoffs. Now they got a victory. But can you imagine how things are going down over there? So it's great coaching over there by Beeville, just continuing to get these guys, preparing them to play. But what a great job by their players to never give up. And look where you're at. You're now in the second round, regardless of what happened in district. I think I've heard Johnny say before, the playoffs is a whole new season. And that's the way I think Beeville's looking at it. So great job by the Beeville Trojans. Great win, taking out the number 1 team from the Valley of La Feria.
Hey, I know you talked about how they prepared this season for tough teams, but they've been preparing since they were 12 because they had to play Rockport in
Right.
youth football.
Right. Well,
All these seniors, they had to play these guys, and Rockport's good, so they've had to play these guys, and we actually won the Super Bowl in Beeville
Yeah.
back when these seniors were 12 years old. So
Yeah, 6 years ago, sure enough. No,
yeah,
no. How long is that? It's been a while.
yeah, 6 or 8, something like that.
Something like that.
6 or 7. Anyway, so they've been prepared for a long time. The next game we got on the schedule, we have the Miller Bucks coming up big over Hidalgo, 45-24. I think Miller, you know, we know they're going to score a lot of points, and their game plan is to score more points than the other team. And I don't know if Hidalgo, I didn't really look into the game. I don't know if they're just not really big on scoring or Miller's defense is getting better. I mean, Johnny, do you know anything about this game?
Um, Miller actually balanced their offense this game. They had 234 yards passing and 230 yards rushing. Mr. Ethan Greenwood, 15 carries this game, 87 yards and a touchdown. Their receiver, Lonnie Atkinson, 6 catches or 123 yards and 3 touchdowns. Big target. Coach brought up a freshman for the first time to the varsity. Threw him in there. Let's go. Playoffs. You're a freshman. That's all he played. He didn't play no JV. All he played was freshman. Boy had 75 yards and 1 touchdown. That's not what I got.
You
Yeah.
talking about running back? You talking about
Running
running back? Yeah,
Yeah,
he
eight
played earlier in the season.
8 attempts for 75 yards and a touchdown. So he's going to be using the playoffs apparently.
So what do you know
yeah.
about defense? Where is Hidalgo a team that normally scores a lot of points, or did Miller just play some defense?
That I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay.
Apparently, Greenwood laid some people out that they had called a few injuries on the field.
Yeah, man, you can't jump in front of a truck, and that boy is a truck, man. So we've all seen him.
Apparently, yeah, he put the game stopped quite a few times because he let out a few people.
Yeah, no, that guy is definitely a truck. Steve, what do you know about this game?
Well, I know what I see. I know that Miller mixing it up. We talked about that on the podcast. It was only going to help him.
Yep.
Be better, like be more balanced. You know what I'm saying? Teams can't lock in on just a pass, and that running. Bringing that running game in. It's just good coaching. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure that's all it was. It's like him recognizing, hey, this kid's rolling. Let's keep him going. And I mean, don't get me wrong, putting the ball up in the air and scoring 60 points a game is awesome. You know what I'm saying? But being a physical team that way, like that, being able to pound the rock, I think, it just sends a message to the other teams that, hey, we're not finesse, because Miller, I mean, they don't get called finesse, but you know what I'm saying? Throwing the ball a ton, you know what I'm saying? You kind of develop that reputation of throwing the ball, but when you're able to pound the ball like this, man, teams are, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna start to worry about you and where to attack you and how to play against. And then that guy's a load. We know that guy's a load down there. So, hey, great job by the coach by rolling what's working. You know what I'm saying? We saw that in spurts this season that they cut this kid loose. And this is might be the time to do it right here, right? It's just a different look. I'm telling you, teams come in, they prepare for one thing, but if you're able to flip it around and then pound the ball, at a good clip, even both sides, just kind of, down the middle, it just makes it a more effective team. Miller could go further than with this attack. With this game plan, I think Miller could go further. You know what I'm saying? Being able to be, throwing it as effective as the kid did down there as a sophomore, and then bringing this kid in and pounding the rock. It's just good coaching. To me, it's just really good coaching and recognizing what he has and then just rolling with it, man. So
yeah. And I'm looking at Greenwood's stats. It wasn't really up until the last half of the season where he really started getting the ball, and he's almost at 1,000 yards rushing. But I know for the first probably 5 games, he might have been at 300-400 yards rushing on a season, and or less. And he was getting. I remember we were breaking this down one time, and he had like 4 carries, and the next week we couldn't believe it. It said 45 or something like that, and we're like,
54.
or 54.
54.
And we were like, what is that a misprint or what? and now he's getting the ball more, and as Johnny said, balance and it's not really just the players that have to get better. You know what I mean? Coaches learn from their own mistakes, and coaches progress, and they become more experienced, and I think that after that, especially after that Waco La Vega game, all they try to do is throw that ball, and they kept it close in the first half, and then they let it go in the second half because they just threw the ball and tried to catch up, and they never caught up. You know what I mean? So I think Miller is stirring up a recipe for some more success in the playoffs. So I look forward to see Miller doing some better things. Moving forward. Gabriel, what are your thoughts?
Well, like Steve said, it's great coaching by Evans and his assistant coaches. You have a guy that fell into your lap. Use him more than blocking. You got a sophomore quarterback that's still not developed like Andrew Body was his senior year, right? Junior, senior year. Now, maybe by next year, this quarterback will be somewhat like an Andrew Body, but this year he's still not there, even though he's had a great season, right? When you throw the ball the way Miller throws, you're putting a lot of pressure on this young fella to have to produce a lot for you to win a game. But you take some of that pressure off when you give it to Greenwood, right? He doesn't have to win the game this way, and then the defense is, if you have to work, this guy's a load, right? And so you could give him the ball 35 times, and he could probably do a lot of damage to you, 3-4 yards. But then I think what it does for Miller, it opens up that passing because you've got to be able to put more guys up on that box. If that Miller line is it's a big line, so you got to add the safety. You got to add somebody up there to stop that run. Well, these receivers and this quarterback makes it just a little bit easier if you have that one-on-one coverage to be able to score. So we see what Miller's doing now. Maybe they watch this podcast because you guys have been saying this from day one in the podcast. Use Greenwood. Now you're starting to see him use more. They used him in the first round. So as Coach Steve said, it's a formula that will work. Maybe get him out of the second round. I don't know how it'll go in the third round, but it'll definitely, I think, help his young quarterback this year be more effective and not having to put it all on his shoulders to go out and win you a game against some tough opponents because this kid is still learning. So even though Miller loves to score all those points, I think they found something with Greenwood and that passing attack. If they can be balanced like this in the next round, there's no reason why they can't win and go into the third round. So they might have found something, Tony, that may help them, something that they're not accustomed to doing, but something that may help them win some ball games and get into that third round of playoffs. We'll see what happens. But great win, and I'm happy to see that they're balancing out both the run and the pass, and we'll see how far it can take them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about a team who made the fourth round last year. You know what I mean, and get knocked out by a really good Austin LBJ team. So we'll see what kind of run they can make. They got some young guys, Atkinsism, whatever. I can't really pronounce his name. He's a junior, I believe. Brown is a sophomore, and Greenwood's a junior. So I mean, they got some guys coming back, and if they make this work right now and they start their season off next year like this, I mean, they could be a really dangerous team in that district.
Yeah.
Next game we have Calhoun coming up big also versus Grulla, and they get the win 56-14. Grulla's not really it's like really one of those teams that you put in the playoffs because four teams got to go. That's the way I look at Grulla. I mean, this is a team that I think Raymondville beat, in the preseason, and we didn't know a whole lot about them, and we all seen Raymondville. So for them to be in that 4A Division One district playoffs, playing against a Calhoun team, I mean, it wasn't never going to go good for them. But Johnny, do you have anything on this game?
Well, Calhoun using their bread and butter. They had three backs have 100 yards, 486 yards rushing. And I saw 0 passing.
That sounds like them. They're gonna have to change that up as they progress, though. They're gonna definitely have to change that. Steve?
Yeah, no, that rushing attack just killed them, bro. They dominated them on the offensive side, and they also had a great defensive game. They had 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 6 sacks themselves on defense. So, they came out and showed total domination. You know what I'm saying, on the offense side of the ball and on the defense side of the ball. So great job by by Calhoun. You know what I'm saying? They did a great job their opening round, and we'll see how far it takes them. Like you said, and that pass may come back and get them, but hell, they're winning. You know what I'm saying? You can't take shit away from can't take nothing away from them. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? So stay with your game plan, just like we talked to ours. We talked to our coaches, say, hey, what types of changes you think you can make going in the second round, playing tougher opponents. Like, no, we're just going to be us, and we're going to continue to be us. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what it comes down to. You got to beat them on the field. So great job by Calhoun by sticking with what they do best, and they truly our dominant team when it comes to running the ball. You know what I'm saying? So they could do it. You know what I'm saying? They could run it. So why not run it? So I mean, 4 guys with over 100 yards. That's phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? That's showing depth, and it's tough for a defense to key in on what you're doing and who's getting the ball, and how they did a great job distributing the ball and spreading them all and keeping them on their toes. So good job, good execution of a great game plan.
Gabriel.
Great win for Calhoun, but we've seen this story before. At least I have, where they do really good. It's this next round and beyond that they get in trouble by not being able to pass. So I'm not surprised that the run game got them into the playoffs in this district. It did it last year and the years before, and the run game has gotten them past the first round. What's been difficult for them in their run game is getting to the second and third round with just the run and not the pass. So it's going to be very interesting to me to see if they can, get a win and perform this way in the next second or third round, because this is where they start having problems when they don't pass. But they're not going to pass, guys. That's not what they do. And I've said this about Calhoun in the past. Listen, there's no secret what we want to do and what we're going to do. If you can stop us, we'll lose. But if you can't, we're going to beat you. That it's that simple. It's what they do down there, and they're not going to change it. But it's been good for them to get into the playoffs, and it's been good for them in the first round. It's been the second and third round that they've had the trouble where they've been shut down and not because they can't pass. So it'll be very interesting as we preview round 2 and who their opponent is, if they'll be able to get yet another win against that team by just running the ball. We'll see what happens. Calallen's usually pretty effective, but Calallen will throw a little bit. They just don't run. But Calhoun's a run game, man, and they're not going to change. It's who they are. They're going to live or die by the run.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll see. They have a tough opponent next week in Austin LBJ, so we'll see. And LBJ is a balanced team. They run and pass about the same amount of time. So
and let me just say this, Tony. Even if Calhoun was to throw the ball, it ain't gonna make a difference. They ain't gonna beat LBJ. Ain't nobody in this region gonna beat LBJ.
hey, Miller almost beat him last year. It was a close game. It was like 59, 54, or 56, 54, something like that. It was
Yeah.
close.
I went to that game, and both teams were matched up very, very well.
Yeah.
With speed, they both had it on offense. Defenses had that. The only reason LBJ won simply was because, I think Body had 2 fumbles and 1 fumble, and then there were like 2 first downs that they weren't able to convert on 4th down. But you're right. I watched the game at the Alamo Dome. Man, both offense were electrifying. It was great.
Yeah. Porlavaca will have their hands full next week. Next game we have Calallen. No surprise, big win over Zapata, 55-10. Really not a whole lot to say in this game. And same thing for Calhoun. Neither of these games really, I don't want to say matter, because you got to play them to get to the second round, but they were not going to lose these games. They were never meant to lose these games at all. So Calhoun goes in there and puts a whipping on Zapata. Johnny.
Yeah, it was 49-0 at the half. It was obviously out of hand to start off. But Calhoun started to use her passing now.
So they listen. because they
Bryce Bryant,
listen.
he attempted 13 passes. That's something. It ain't no 2 or 3 no more. This is back-to-back weeks that he attempted, some passes now. I think 17 last week. I don't know if I'm might be mistaken there, and 13 this week. So he's not. Of course, he runs the ball out of the backfield too. He had 6 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So maybe they're. I mean, Danaher's been known to do something like this. Don't use it to the playoffs. Don't use it to the playoffs. Why waste it during the season? Let's save it for the playoffs. Let's not show it in the season. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and you talked about the running back running it out of the backfield. I mean, he has almost 500 yards rushing on the season, and when you pass a little bit, that opens him up to do that. Especially when you have a guy like Epi, the defenses are thinking, oh, he's getting the ball. Calallen runs the ball all the time, and that quarterback drops back just a few times, and then he rushes, and then he gets a first down or he gets a few yards. So, it's things like that, and that's what I mean by Por Vaca. You don't got to throw it a lot, you just got to throw it enough so that the other team doesn't know if the quarterback's going to throw it or if he's going to run with it or if he's going to give it to one of his star backs. So, and that's what I mean, especially when you play teams like LBJ. But Calallen, it's good to see that they're changing it up a little bit, and I think it opens up more facets of what your offense could do. Steve.
Yeah, no, I don't got much on this one. I mean, they rested a lot of guys. Epi only got 4 carries for the game. You know what I'm saying? So they knew going into it they weren't going to need him. You know what I'm saying? So they were able to get him some rest. He still got in the end zone twice. You know what I'm saying? But so he got his. But just smart heads up job by the coaches. Just hey, listen, we can dial it back a little bit. We can feed some of our younger guys. You know what I'm saying? We can do other things to help boost their confidence. You know what I'm saying? And they knew that it was in the bag on this one. They didn't have much to worry. So, yeah, no, that's all I got to say, on Calhoun.
Gabriel?
I don't have anything. If you're going to me, I have nothing to say.
All right, so this next game, to me, was a big game. It looks like me and Johnny were the only ones on the right side of the fence on this one. This is one of those number 4s taking out number 1s. Now, I said this before playoffs started that I don't think that any of those teams played anyone. And I remember Gabriel and I didn't go word for word. I didn't replay the video, but saying, it's not their fault. They play who's in front of them. I believe that, you're right, but I don't think that they have been tested the way Port Isabel been tested in the district that they're in, and that's why I believed that they could beat Carrizo Springs, and I believe that if West Oso made the playoffs, they could beat Carrizo Springs, even though they were undefeated. So in this game, Port Isabel takes the win, and a shocker to some people, or at least to half of us, with a 23-8 win over a 10-0 Carrizo Springs. Johnny, what do you got to say about this game? You picked Port Isabel. What made you pick Port Isabel?
Exactly what you just talked about. The team that, you Sinton, Rockport, Ingleside.
West
that's
Oso.
yeah, West Oso. These guys fought the whole season, to the very end, where they had to get that win against West Oso, So they battled them. Those teams battled, to they kind of pulled away towards the end, and Port Isabel, their defense and special teams took this game. They had a safety to start off. They wanted to start off the game, but they already were up by a safety. I think Port Isabel scored on their first drive, and then on the ensuing possession for Carrizo, the defense got them for a safety, and then later on in the half, they got a pick 6, to put them way ahead. And Carrizo only scored late in the second half, and now second quarter, and that was it. That was all the offense they had, So, that's the reason I picked Carrizo. Port Isabel, it's everybody's 0-0. no matter about that undefeated season. Who you play, it's all who you play. So
Yep.
yeah, I went with Port Isabel with this one. That's why.
And I'll tell you what, even though Rockport really beat on Port Isabel, they ran they ran their slot T great. I mean, we talked about that. I mean, the trickery, the misdirection that they did, it was so seamless. Our defense was just really good, against them. Really, I mean, realistically, let's be honest. Rockport's defense was too much for them. But man, they ran that offense well. And they got yards. I mean, I think they had over 200 yards rushing on Rockport, right? Am I correct? The Port Isabel against a
Pretty
really
close
good
to it. Yeah.
really against a really good defense. So, because of what I saw, because I didn't see their games, I just knew that they played tougher competition. That's the only thing that I knew going into this game, because I didn't see any of their games. But when I saw the way they played against Rockport, I was really impressed the way they ran their offense. I really was. I just, they were playing against a really tough Rockport defense. So that's where I got my confidence in them that they could beat Carrizo Springs. But Steve, you picked Carrizo. Was it the 10-0 record, or did you think Port Isabel just from what you saw wasn't good enough to beat a Carrizo Springs team?
No, I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. I'm a sucker for anything shiny and new. And listen, and I know the few fans that I might have gained covering the Tarpons game. I'm sure I lost it, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but I feel like I owe it to the Tarpon fans that tuned in to watch us to at least admit that I was wrong and not picking PI and going with what was shiny. Yeah, I saw something shiny over there. Ooh, look how pretty that is. So yeah, no, I mean, other than a foot in my mouth, what I'm saying, I can't say anything about this game. It just wouldn't be right. And I'm already, they're already on the edge. They're fixing to jump off of the, liking me. So I'm just gonna leave it alone and just admit that I was totally wrong, and I screwed the pooch on this one. So I'm sorry, Tarpon fans.
Gabriel, now you also picked Carrizo Springs. Was it that for you too, or did you just think that they were better?
No, I saw a Robstown team that couldn't do nothing, score a lot of points on their defense early on in the season. So I thought, hey, if Robstown can do it, Carrizo Springs ought to be able to put a whipping on them. But I was wrong, like Steve. I think you saw Port Isabel, and when we were up there, we were talking to a guy up there from Port Isabel. This is a very young team. When we were up there setting up and stuff, we were talking a little bit. I was talking to the guy. They brought down a coach. Their head coach was a coach before. So they brought him back. I believe I'm saying it correctly. And that's a very young team. So this coach that they had was a coach, I think, that has had success in the past. So bringing all that stuff back, kids buying into the program, you gradually saw Port Isabel be competitive. And I think the biggest thing to what I didn't see a lot when I made the prediction was the district. The district helps you, like it helped Beeville, it helped Port Isabel. You play these tough teams. You don't go in, you lose to Sinton, you lose to the three top teams in the district, so you go fourth. But you learn something from each one of these teams. You see the offense, you see the explosiveness of the Sinton and what they do, then you see the explosiveness of the Rockport offense, and then you play a really great defense in Ingleside. That you're having trouble. So these coaches are learning a lot from this loss that helps better prepare them for the first round of playoffs. So I do believe, Tony, that the teams that you play in the district, the tougher they are, you may get the loss in district, but if you do make the playoffs, it definitely helps you play these other teams. And so I don't know who Carrizo Springs had to play to get that record, but definitely Port Isabel, who they played in district, definitely helped prepare them for this first round of playoffs. And so great win for Port Isabel. And I think this is going to be a team next year. I don't know if we're playing with the realignment and whatever's going to happen, right? We'll find out here in a couple of months. But This is going to be a team, whoever is in the district, you better watch out for Port Isabel because they're young and they're going to make some noise next year. And then, by the way, Tony, they're not out of it this year. So who knows what they can do in the second round. We'll preview that. But great win for Port Isabel. And we'll see what happens in the second round.
I could say something about what a kind of Carrizo Springs district was. It's the same district that our district swept.
Well, I like I said, I think they can't help who they play. I mean, they play who's ever in there,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Carrizo Springs, they don't have control. But I definitely think that when it comes to the playoffs, yeah, it definitely hurts you because you saw it in this one. You saw the matchup in this one. Same thing with Beeville. The tougher your district is, the better you're prepared for the playoffs. And great coach, good coaches, like Port Isabel. And Sosa, the Beeville coach and the Port Isabel coach have been coaching, from what I understand, for a very long time, right? And so these coaches, they know it's a long season. You get into the playoffs, anything can happen. So they're looking more, they want to win games in district, but they want to get in the playoffs and they want to be able to be successful. And so for Carrizo Springs, unfortunately, not playing tough competition hurts them in the playoffs because you really don't get to see that toughness because you're beating everybody versus Port Isabel, who played tough teams. And the end result is they were able to get the first round win. So, yeah, unfortunately for Carrizo Springs, their district isn't tough where they get to see tough competition that'll help them in the playoffs. So, didn't do them any service. They won district and have a good record, but lost in the first round. So, I think you'd rather win the playoffs than in district, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, they don't pick who they play. So, I mean, but just because I felt like Port Isabel played a tougher team, that's why I went with them.
Yeah.
Next, the next game we have, I did watch the live stream of this game. We have the Ingleside Mustangs taking on the 8-2 Ingleside Mustangs taking on the 8-2 Devine Warhorses. In this game, Ingleside really jumped ahead early, and then Devine comes back in the fourth quarter and turns it into a game. Even had an opportunity at the end with the onside kick that they didn't recover, but they came back in the end. So I know we talked about with Coach Hamrick about being able to put four quarters together. Um, this is another one of those games that could have slipped through their fingers, if they weren't able to finish it off. And I think in this game they got lucky that time ran out because man, the Warhorses were on a comeback. Ingleside really, really, really gonna have to be able to compete in the fourth quarter in the second round if they want a chance to win the game. But nonetheless, congratulations on the win. Big win for them. And it shows other teams that they're able to get ahead early, and it shows more importantly themselves. Hey, we could go to a playoff game and jump and get an early lead. So hopefully they build on that. They build some confidence on that going into the second round, and they get better next week. So we'll see. But Johnny, what are your thoughts? Did you watch the live stream?
I didn't watch the live stream. Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched the bits and pieces of it, but I did watch the fourth.
So were these 4 turnovers at the beginning of the game? That's how they got behind, Steve?
Yeah, no, they kind of spread them out.
They spread them out?
They spread them out. But yeah, no, those two, they had 2 turnovers in the first half, and that's what got them off the sloppy start.
Yeah, I saw that they had 4. I think it was like three fumbles and interception, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had that 24-7 lead, man. They almost let it slip away. I mean, it was there. It was basically there for them to lose, man. But hey, they hung up this time. They hung on, but hey, we swept that district, so I'm happy about that.
Well, one of their touchdowns, I think it was like almost right after a kickoff. They were around the 20-yard line, and that's how the Warhorses got their third touchdown because they were right there. They were real close. to scoring. So it didn't take them that long to score on that. I didn't see the fumbles, but I did see the interception. It was really bad timing for Ingleside and really gave them really good field position. I don't remember if they scored a touchdown or if that's when they kicked their field goal because they did kick a field goal. Steve, do you remember? Was it off that interception or did they score on that one? Do you remember?
Man, I don't remember, but I know the
Uh, they,
interception was huge.
they got points. They got points. I don't remember if it was the field goal that they scored or the touchdown that they scored off of that turnover, but they did put points on the board. Uh, Steve, what are your thoughts? I mean, you saw the whole game. What did you what are your thoughts on Ingleside and what Coach Hamrick said about playing 4 quarters or just what was your thoughts overall?
Well, listen, just like everybody's kind of here, everybody on this panel's probably got a town that they've already established. A hated guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a marked guy in Ingleside. I don't usually pull for him. I picked against him in this game right here. To tell you the truth, man, I thought the Warhorses got the short end of the stick on this one. So on that pick, and of course, I'm just watching live stream and I'm not on the field but they both went up. The Warhorse guy came down with the ball and then they pulled it out of his hands, which was tough because the Warhorses at that moment were coming back. They were driving, they were scoring, and they were tough on defense. They were, getting them off the field on defense. And I think they had just gotten a turnover themselves to get the ball. And a couple of plays later or a few plays later down the line, and they threw a bomb, and it was a third down. It was a long play, and they threw this long pass, and they both went up, and the guy, to me, I thought he came down with the ball, and the guy pulled it away from him, and they called it Ingleside's ball, and that's tough, man, because I'm telling you, that really killed the momentum. I think what was going to happen there had they scored that time. Because then after they gave up the ball, Ingleside ended up going back down and scoring on that drive, and then the Warhorses came, scored another one. But man, they really had momentum on their side, dude. The Warhorses really had momentum on their side, and that call right there kind of changed it right there for them. So Ingleside did enough to get the W, and I'll admit that. But as far as playing. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself because I mean you can't not play 4 quarters and get the W. So obviously they did enough to win. You know what I'm saying, but it's on a shaky thing. I think it's going to be really tough for them. You know what I'm saying, to come out of this next week, but we'll see how it goes, man. I watched it close, man. I was watching that game and it was really, really good. You know what I'm saying? Ingleside jumped out to an early lead, but the Warhorses, it was just cool to watch a team come back. And then, I guess that's how other fans watch our games when we're streaming the game live, because the guys are clearly Devine fans, right? They're from Devine. I think they're both coaches, I think is what I understood through the conversation that they're having. They're both staffs of the school. And, of course they call in, they're going for their team and stuff like that. And, they were clearly upset when the balls didn't go their way or the calls didn't go their way or whatever. So I guess that's how other fans watch our podcast when we're streaming the game live. But it was cool. It was a cool game to watch. It was, all the way down. It was a nail biter, even down towards the end, missing the onside kick attempt or whatever. But I think if the Warhorses would have had the ball one more time, I think they would have pulled out the W.
It was scary. Ingleside needed to get that onside, that's for sure. It was like 57 seconds left at that point or something like that, 55. So, Gabriel?
Ingleside played really great start of the game. They just couldn't continue to build on it. And I thought that they were in control of the game from the beginning, and then they just can't finish off games. And we've had Coach Hamrick on here when we've talked about this. It's about 4 quarters. TJ's been on here as a guest and said the same thing. They just don't play 4. I don't know why that is with Sinton, with Ingleside. I don't know why they can't put it together, but they almost lost it. And so it was concerning to me because I thought they played really good. I thought their game plan was good, and they had the Warhorses. At the beginning, they just couldn't continue to put them out. They couldn't finish it. And slowly, with teams like this, they start building momentum back and they score, and then they hold you on defense. All of a sudden, really quickly, Devine started getting the momentum. And then, like Coach Steve said, I watched it too. That call that the refs made really killed the momentum for Devine. And so, I don't know, they gave it to Ingleside, but I kind of saw it the way Steve did. But it did change the momentum. And I think if you're Ingleside, you play a great game, you can't let these teams come back and be part of the game that could almost, beat you at the very end. And that's what Ingleside did. They almost lost it. Very lucky to have won it, but I thought that they had opportunities to gain to take a bigger lead, and they couldn't capitalize on those, which then led Devine to come back. So I'm a little concerned. Great win for the Mustangs and Coach Hamrick, but I'm concerned at the way they let Devine come back in, because now in round 2 you're playing a tougher opponent. That if you do the same thing that you did in round 1, you're gonna get beat. So some things they got to work on. But one thing that's been concerning, Tony, is even when they played Rockport and Sinton, you saw Ingleside start the games very strong and competitive. They just can't finish it, and they end up losing the games. And you almost saw that result again. But again, they let almost that game step away in the third and fourth quarter. So there's something to be said. Not sure exactly what's going on. They start off strong, but they don't finish strong. So they got to turn that around if they want to advance to the third round of the playoffs.
Tony, we can't hear you.
I said they will be facing a tough Wimberley team that will take advantage of mistakes like that. Next game we have I don't think there's a whole lot to say about this game. This is a number 1 taking on a number 4. We got the Sinton Pirates, huge win, 68-14 over Bandera. Bandera, not an impressive team. The teams that they beat, I think, were winless teams. Uh, Johnny, you have anything to say on this game?
Um, other than Ryland played a little bit more in this game than he has in previous games. He had 19 carries for 284 yards, 6 touchdowns on the ground. So he had a big part of that offense. For 19 carries. Even in a game that against Bandera, usually don't use a starter that much, but yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it was a rehab game for him. I mean, I am from what I understand, he hasn't really been healthy all season. So maybe this was just one of those games to get his legs right for next week or maybe even the third round. We'll see.
Tony,
Steve?
Tony, I just before Steve goes, I want to add, every time we say this on the podcast, I get a comment on our YouTube where this guy from Sinton, I believe he's from Sinton, says that Ryland is healthy. So whether he's healthy or he's not healthy, we definitely have not seen Ryland from what I've stayed up on, and I don't stay up with Sid all the time, but we have not seen him perform the way he's performed his junior year. Now, still a great running back, still a threat. You got to worry about him like you do Renee. I'm just saying, whatever's going on, if he is healthy or if he's not, we haven't seen the performance that we did last year. That don't mean he won't do this in the rounds. I guess Sinton already knows what they've got in him. So he doesn't need a lot of warm-up games. He can just get in there, and we saw this what he did with Bandera, obviously. But I'm just saying, we don't want to, right? I don't know if he's healthy or he's not. This guy comes out and says, he's real healthy. I don't know that to be any different, but I know that definitely not the Ryland Galvan that we saw in the junior, at least from where I'm sitting at. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Hopefully he is healthy. They'll need him in the playoffs as they get into the second, third, and the fourth round. But so far maybe Coach Troutman hasn't used him because he hasn't needed to use him. We saw him play a lot against that Rockport game. So maybe they don't use him when they don't feel they need to. Remember, they got the other running back and Renee, they pick it up. So maybe it's true what the guy's saying. They just don't need him and they don't use him and they keep him healthy and or fresh until they need him in the second and third round. We'll see what happens, but a great game. Like Johnny said, he had a big game.
I don't believe that as an athlete, unless you have other plans, which he does. He plans to play Division One baseball. Uh, I don't, but I just don't unless I don't see an athlete say, "Hey, coach, don't use me that much. Only use me when you need me." Like I don't see that flying with the athlete unless, like I said, for someone like him, he's either injured or he's not trying to stay healthy for games. He's trying to take care of his body because he does have other plans. To go play baseball. But yeah, I was looking at his stats. I mean, he rushed for over 1,500 yards last year. He's only at 900 this year. So, uh, from someone who doesn't know what's going on with him, I mean, there's all kind of different scenarios that I could come up with in my own head. I'm not trying to spread a rumor or anything about him being injured or what, but with the information that we have or don't have, that's the conclusion that we've drawn. And if it's something else, if he wants to comment and say, what is going on, that, 'cause, we're definitely not here to spread rumors about him being hurt or not. We're just going off of stats, going off of the information that we do have. We haven't heard anything different. So that's where that comes from.
It was definitely healthy this past Friday with
Yeah,
the
it definitely
lot
was
of
healthy this
touchdowns.
this past Friday against a team he didn't have I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like against a team he didn't have to run all over. I mean that's not the game. Like we talked about Epi only getting 4 carries in the Calallen game versus Zapata. He didn't need to. You know what I mean? So you don't that I can see, that I could understand. But he has, all 1,700 yards or 1,500 yards, on the season. You know what I mean? So that's different. But for someone who rushed for 1,500 yards last year to 900 yards this year, and 280 of those yards were last week. You know what I'm saying? Uh, conclusions are going to be drawn, and that's strictly what we did. It wasn't like we weren't, it wasn't rumors or anything like that. So, uh, anyways, who did I go to? Johnny, did I go to you on that? Did
Steve
you want
was
to
next.
comment on that,
Steve was
Steve?
next. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not against, what I'm saying, like you said, I mean, clearly this was just something the coach thought that, we need to get him going. This is the time of the season, and let's do it here. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, we kept our starters in for a super long time. I thought this weekend ourselves, what I'm saying, longer than what we needed to. At least the line and the receivers, and we rotated the backs there in the third quarter, but um, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, get them going. You know what I'm saying? That's what you need to do. You're going to need them. You know what I'm saying? Deeper you go in the playoffs, so why not? You know what I'm saying? Let's just get them going, and then let the chips fall where they may. So I'm not against it. Coach Troutman, he's got his finger on the pulse of that team. He understands what he has to do to get those guys going, and when to pull back the reins and say, okay, guys, what I'm saying, we may not, we'll see how it goes this second week. I think, what I'm saying, Sinton's draw was God's gift. You know what I'm saying? The draw that they got
Yeah,
is, yeah.
absolutely.
So he may be able to do it in the second round, which is crazy to sound, to say, that maybe you rest in the second round, but honestly, with their draw, I think he might be, and this was one that they wanted to get him going. So I'm not against it. What I'm saying, it's all good. Run them. I'm saying get them going, and then I'm saying it'll have them prepared. The risk you run with that is just an injury, something unspeakable like that. But if it gets him going, and it gets his motor running and get him ready for this, the second, third round or whatever they decide to do, I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I mean, it's football. It's supposed to be played. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But, again, Ingleside, we all knew that Ingleside was going to go in there and get the W. You know what I'm saying? So it's no shocker. And I'm surprised we spent this much time on it.
Gabriel,
No, I've
you got
already
anything?
said what I thought about Ingleside. No, sitting, no surprise.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So let us know if the guy comments again. Like I said, I just want to make sure that it's clear that we're not spreading rumors. It's just
No, the
based
guy's
off of
just trying.
stats.
Yeah, no, the guy's just trying to clear. I think what we say, he's just trying to make clear that Rylan Galvan is healthy. He doesn't have any issues. So at the beginning of the season, yes, but we've made some comments, like you said, based on he's not playing the performance. So we just come to the conclusion that he might be hurt, but this guy just comes out after I guess he watches the podcast and says he's healthy. So, we don't know, but hopefully he is. And by his performance this week, it seems like he's 100% healthy. But we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
That's good news. Here on the podcast, we're pulling for all of our area teams. So a healthy Ryland, definitely helps them out. So either way, we're pulling for Sinton to keep winning football games, whether he's getting 4 carries or 20 carries. So, it's good to hear that he is healthy. Next game we have the 10-0 Odem Owls taking on Karnes City. This is a game that we all knew Odem would win. Um, and they win big, 59-25. Johnny, you have anything on this game?
Other than Odom had 428 yards rushing.
Oh wow, another one of those. They're
Yeah.
trying to beat Calhoun. Steve, what do you got?
Nah, I don't have anything on this game. I knew they were going to pull out that W.
Gabe?
No, great win for Odom, man. These guys are playing some really good football. Let's see if they can get to the third, maybe to the region. We'll see what happens, but playing good ball right now.
All righty. So next game we have on the ticket, we have the I think I got this backwards. I think somebody correct me if you have the score. I have Hebronville over Stockdale 23-6. I think that's reverse, correct? Didn't Stockdale beat Hebronville? Anybody know?
I didn't even know we had that on our list.
Oh, my bad. It was on my list. We didn't do that game. Next game, we have the Taft Greyhounds falling to Natalia 35-7. Taft had a really great season. They had some tough teams in their district. And they go and play Natalia in the first round. And they take the loss. But this JR's second year, Gabriel, is that correct?
I know. I think it's his third or something. He's been there more than 2 years. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Maybe-
Okay. Well,
maybe-
I know he hadn't been there a while, and he talked about really getting the guys to buy into his system, and that he really liked those guys, and he has a lot of trust in them. They have a lot of trust in him, and it showed this season. But just great game. I mean, great season for Taft, and it's really nothing to put your head down about. You know what I mean? It's a great season. Johnny.
No, hombre, vato. I jump with them, and that's what happens. They go down.
Hey, now it's
20-0 at the
gonna
half.
be your fault. Now it's gonna be your fault. You can't you definitely can't go on their side.
You go down 20-0 at the half, man. You go in there sluggish, man. I was very disappointed with this. Very, very disappointed. They never had a chance with this one.
Steve.
Man, I'm not sure what happened at this game. I didn't. I saw Taft winning this game, man. I really thought that those boys. I'm not too sure what Natalia brought to the table, man. I really don't know. I didn't find anything on the game, but man, tough. It's a tough season for the Taft, the Greyhounds. I think they started out with a lot of momentum. You know what I'm saying? Losing some close games, but being competitive and playing really hard. I feel bad for Costa, who had a great season, and for Coach JR. You know what I'm saying? Those guys put up a valiant effort this year. I thought they played extremely well, and it just caught up to them, I guess. You know what I'm saying? This Natalia team must have been very dynamic to get a W like this over Taft. You know what I'm saying? This one surprised me. I mean, out of a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? Even though it was a flip-flop matchup, right? The Taft came in at the 4 seed. Is that correct? Third. Okay. So, I mean, it's still surprising. Nonetheless, 2 versus 3. with the way Taft was playing, I guess that Hebron-Gabriel and that Odem game, it really took a lot out of them, because they really never bounced back after that. You know what I'm saying? After those tough losses, they really never got back on stride and playing the way they were playing earlier in the season. So tough loss for Taft, you know what I'm saying? But, great season nonetheless. And Coach JR is going to use this as a building block and try to get those boys rallied back up and bounce back from this tough last quarter of the season. I think is where they had their struggles.
Gabriel.
I was real surprised, and I actually talked to a guy that was at the game from TAP, and he had told me that stat-wise, TAP was in good shape and thought that they could win based if you just looked at it on stats. But when I asked him what happened after the game, and he was just as shocked. He didn't. I mean, I don't know. They just did not play good, and Natalia came out and played football. TAP just did not match the intensity, I guess, but he really didn't know. He couldn't really pinpoint one thing. Just Chap didn't play like he thought they would play. Just he's trying to say we just got beat that night. We just got beat. That's all I can say. We just got beat. It's back to next year in building, which we've had Coach JR talk about. The skill players will be there for TAP. It'll be the big boys and finding those guys. So there's some things they got to work on in the offseason. The skill players will be there. Costa will be there for 2 more years, but what will be around them to protect them is what Coach JR was saying they need to find. So I thought that they should have won this game. I was really shocked that they lost in the manner that they lost it. But hey, Natalia, man, they came to play. Man, that's what you got to do in the playoffs. And they played and they won. And for TAP, it's looking into this, and the coaches will have to start the offseason and prepare these boys for next year. TAP is a really good football team with a lot of talent on there. They're just going to have to put it together and try to beat this Odem team. There's something that they haven't been able to do in a while. And now you got a Heavenville team that's also going to be in the mix. So it's going to be a tough district if these guys stay in the same district. There's a realignment, but just not a good performance by the TAP Greyhounds to try to get to the second round. But like Coach Steve said, nevertheless, they make it to the playoffs yet again. But I know that for Coach JR, the expectations for these players were a lot higher than just, getting to the playoffs. They wanted to get to the second and third round. Didn't happen this year. We'll see what happens next year for the Greyhounds.
Absolutely. This next game was split between me and Steve and Johnny and Gabriel. We had the San Diego Vaqueros winning a close one, and I hope one of y'all knows what happened. 29-28 over Orange Grove. This game was tied all game long. I didn't watch any film on it. I was just looking at the box score on ScoreStream, and it looks like the only difference was the fourth quarter. Uh, does anybody know if Orange Grove missed a field goal or they went for two and lost? Because they lost 29-28. And the difference was 1 point. Does anybody know what happened? In the fourth
Not,
quarter, San Diego scored 7 and Orange Grove scored 6.
man, that stinks. No, I don't have any stats on Orange Grove at all. It's just San Diego's side.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how it ended. If you know what I mean, was it one of those go for the win or go for the tie? I just wondered if it was that kind of situation.
I bet
Because of how it ended up.
it
Johnny, you have
se
anything on the game?
it seems like it, right? Looking at the box score.
Tell
Yeah,
me
I don't
something,
know.
Johnny.
I don't know how that ended. I really don't.
Dang it.
I really
It was a
don't.
good game. Nonetheless, it was a good game. And me and Steve went with Orange Grove. And I remember Gabriel asking, who as they play, for you to think they could be San Diego. And I just, that quarterback, I mean, we've been talking about him since last year about how great of a quarterback he is. And quarterbacks, they shine in big games. That's why I thought that they could beat San Diego, though I'm glad San Diego won. I really am glad San Diego won. I really am because I really like San Diego and been pulling for them throughout most of the season.
Nah, nah, nah,
I
nah,
went
nah,
against them versus
nah,
West
nah.
Oso. That's the only time I bet
No
against them.
comiences, no comiences.
That's the only time I bet against them.
Nah.
So,
You might
uh,
like San Diego. Mira Vaquero fans and Coach Bella. Tony might have said he likes Orange Grove. I mean, likes San Diego, but on this day, when he picked, he loved Orange Grove just a little bit more than he loved San Diego. Now he's trying to get back because he wants to go down there and have breakfast with the Vaqueros. Nah, nah, nah. Don't buy into that. He picked Orange Grove over San Diego.
Only because of Cutter Stewart, even though he had a good game though.
Hey, San Diego pulled it off. That's what matters. Like Coach Cyber said, I'm going off of Cutter Stewart and the stats that he's been racking up
Yeah.
since he's been playing on that varsity level. Like Coach Cyber said, the only stat I care about is the W's, and that's what San Diego got. So,
Hey, Tony, real quick, you know what? I'll tell you this. He lost some good receivers that he had last year to graduation. So some of these guys, and I had read that at the beginning of the season, it was going to be they got to build the team around him again. Last year, this is a really good quarterback,
nothing.
but he lost some of the weapons that he had that graduated last year. He had a top receiver that had been on varsity for I think 3 years that graduated. So, it was going to be a work in progress. These guys will be back next year. Let's see what happens next year.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Steve, did you want to comment on this game?
No, I did.
Oh, you did. Okay. All righty. This next game was a shocker to me, and the only reason it was a shocker to me is because London fell quick or fell early in this game. And they end up winning late, but I was shocked that they were losing this game. In this game, London takes the win 27-21 over Goliad. This is a game that I thought London. This is a team that I thought London should roll, and because they didn't, I was super shocked. Johnny, what are your thoughts on this game?
Um, the game went to 2 overtimes, by the way.
2 overtimes.
2 overtimes.
Yeah.
The game was ended. They were still trading at the end, weren't they? In overtime.
No, it was 0-0 after first overtime.
Yeah.
I mean, it was they didn't score.
So it was after the second one.
It was after the second one.
After the second one.
Yeah.
So Goliad basically threw an interception to end it on their second half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they threw an interception to end the game. Now I really don't have much more to say. I mean, there's individual stats, but
I mean,
they got
Goliad.
like 2. I want to know if these are twins or brothers. Also, there's a Preston Casales, and then I think the other one's like a Pearson or something. Same last name.
For London or for
Goliad? For London.
I don't know.
Because one's pretty much the quarterback. I mean, because he had 134 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, and he also ran the ball for 50 yards. And I know there was another one, same name, pretty much the same. And I think he's like a receiver or something like that. I didn't know there were 2 brothers like that. I was wondering if they were twins or something too. Usually you have the same names pretty much when they're twins.
Yeah. Man, it was to me at that fourth quarter, man, London put it together. They found a way, right? I mean, they found a way to score 14 points in the fourth quarter there to rally back. That was big, you know what I'm saying? Because you know how Goliad is. Goliad's a pretty big team, you know what I'm saying? And they fight hard. We played them all through you know what I'm saying? Every year Goliad was pretty tough, but London put a good fourth quarter together and then did enough offensively and then turned around in the game on a defensive play. So, hats off to him, man. Hats off to him. So continued success for London.
Yeah, bro.
No, it was a good game, man. I mean, I think I went for London. I was surprised that it was as close as it was, but listen, London found a way to win it. They're going to have to play better. This is the first round. They're going to have to play better to get out of the second round. But I'll give it to them. They found a way to win it. We'll see what happens in round two.
Righty. Um, Next game we have is again, it's not one of those games that really there's a lot of words for. It's a game that we knew was very winnable. Uh, but we're just keeping tabs just for stats, just for film and things of that nature. We got the Cuero Gobblers taking on the Young Men's Leadership Academy where they win big 63-7. Uh, Johnny.
I think I'm gonna save most of it for the preview of this, but I'm just gonna say that it was surprise. It was no surprise on this, but they really spread it out the ball, huge across the board for this game.
Wow.
And that's what I was talking about earlier about how uh to me when I look at Cuero just and this is just looking at stats. When I look at Cuero stats and I put them to Rockport stats, this is where I say they're pretty evenly matched. They do the same things. I don't know what defensive scheme they run, and I don't know what offense they run. But what I do know is they pass and run about the same amount as Rockport does. So it's going to be about who can do it better when Rockport plays them. But that's exactly what you said is exactly what I was talking about. Steve, you have any words for this game?
Yeah, I think we'll save most of them for the next podcast. But I don't know, man. Cuero just hasn't been impressive for me, bro. Honestly, I watched a lot on film. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they're putting up the W's, but on film. So we'll get more into that, and I'll explain my thought process uh, at the next podcast. But hey, good job by the Cuero Gobblers. You know what I'm saying? Getting into the second round, and we wouldn't want it any other way. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Gabriel.
No, I don't have nothing to say.
All right. Next game we have, I don't know if you wanted to call it a shocker or not. I mean, it was certainly a shocker to me. We have Navarro getting the win over Smithville, 45-35. And the reason I say it's a shocker for me is because in this game, this is a game I thought Navarro would win fairly easily. But they go into halftime with a 21-19 deficit. You know what I mean? They went trailing into halftime, and I definitely did not see that coming. But then they come out in the second half and score 26 points and really put the game away. Uh, Gabriel, I mean, Johnny, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I mean, they put up 26 in that second half to Smith. I mean, Smithville's 14. So um, I did pick Navarro on this one. I think it's just their time to peak now. They had a little rough spot through the season, but I think they're back now. I think they are back. I don't know what's going on over there as of now. I really don't have anything on them on this game, but Smithville coming out of the Cuero district, that's kind of a shocker too. But I can see where you're coming from with that. So hats off to Navarro. I think this is their time of year. So we'll see how far they go.
So you said that Navarro had a little rough spot in the season. They lost to Wimberley and they lost to Port Lavaca. I mean, those are two tough teams. I don't know if I call that a rough spot, but you know, Smithville on the other hand, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like Navarro's not peaking because I feel like we're talking about Cuero
Yep. Yeah,
handled
but what was the
Smithville.
score? What was the score with Navarro and Wembley?
Navarro and Wimberley. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about Cuero and Smithville right now. That's what I'm talking about. Cuero handles Smithville. Okay. And Navarro beat Cuero. Okay. Navarro beat Cuero. But Cuero handles Smithville. Smithville goes into this playoff game with the lead at halftime. And that's where I was like, whoa, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Uh, and that's where I'm coming from right now. I think if you're getting progressively better, you don't play teams that uh you beat that they dominated and trail at all. And that's where I have concerns for Navarro. Now I don't have concerns for Navarro next week. You know what I mean? I think they're taking on who do they got? They got Port Isabel, right? Is that yeah, they got Port Isabel. So I don't have worries for them next week, but you know, uh I don't think they played as good as they should have last week. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. I guess those teams are kind of just beating up on each other. You know what I'm saying? Taking turns over there. Um, I was on the right side of this one. I thought Smithville, on paper they look great, but they lost some key games, and it kind of tells the tale. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm. That's why I kind of look at all at kind of really honestly, to tell you the truth, all three of those teams. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they kind of, they all got, some wins, you know what I'm saying, against tough opponents. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint that those guys down over there as far as, who's the strongest team. And honestly, I think it's whoever shows up and plays the best that day. You know what I'm saying? They kind of taking turns over there. So it's kind of odd to me how that whole thing worked out for them, because Smithville had some quality wins. Navarro, you know what I'm saying? Obviously had a big win, and see, so it's kind of like everybody's, and Cuero, I'm losing, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of odd. They just I guess they're, just being in a tough district or having a tough schedule and then playing each other and beating each other up, and it's kind of hard to pin down the best team out of those three. If I had to, like, okay, which one's the best team? Navarro, you know what I'm saying? Cuero or Wimberley, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, shit, I don't know. They all kind of beat up on each other. It's hard to figure it out. So we'll see how it goes, man. I want to see. I had Navarro on this game. You know what I'm saying? All my primos down there. So good job by those guys. Beating up on Smith. What was the seeding on this one, Tony? Smithville's 2. This is a 2-3 matchup, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Navarro was 2, wasn't it? It was Wimberley then Navarro. Yeah, so it was a 2-3. Yeah, Navarro was number 2. Smithville was number 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But so Gabriel, tell me what your thoughts are. So Johnny said, because I agree with what you said, Steve. What you said about them three, you can't tell which one is better. I agree with that. And the reason, and I mean, Gabriel had this conversation yesterday. We're talking about a Cuero team that we're facing Friday, right? And we're talking about a Navarro team that we've seen a few years ago, and we're talking about a Wimberley team we've seen a couple of years ago. Okay, Cuero's the only team that we haven't seen, but what we do know is that Cuero almost shut Wimberley out. That we know.
Yeah.
Okay, then Navarro goes and beats Cuero. You know what I mean? And then Wimberley goes and beats Navarro. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the conclusion that I draw from that is every one of those teams is beatable. Every
Sure.
one of those teams is beatable. That's the conclusion that I draw from that. Now, Gabriel, I'm asking you to what Johnny said. He said, Navarro's peaking. Would you consider a team that Cuero rolled in the regular season? They beat them 53-25, Smithville. Okay, going into Navarro and playing Navarro in week 1 in the playoffs, and Navarro, yeah, they scored a lot of points in the second half, but they go to half trailing. Would you consider Navarro peaking at that point, or this
I
point
thought
of the
no, I thought Navarro was going to win the game regardless.
Yeah,
I didn't think
I did.
Smithville was good enough to beat Navarro. But here's what I'll say real quick about Cuero. remember this, and this is something that we don't talk a lot about, guys. Rockport's been in the playoffs for what the last. Let's just give these seniors when they were freshmen. When these seniors, McAllister, Chupi, Krupa, Moreno, when they were a freshman, Rockport went to the playoffs. They went to the second round, lost to Navarro. Their sophomore year, they went to the playoffs. They lost to a state-ranked Wimberley team. They went all the way to state by 1 point in Beeville. So their freshman and sophomore years were to the third round. They got to see a lot of experience, a lot of tough teams. And then last year, we got beat in the second round, surprisingly, by Navasota. Cuero, while Rockport seniors were doing this, Cuero was not in the playoffs the last 2 years. I think 2 years ago they were 3-7, and I think they were last year 5-6. So even though this team is dominating this year, that experience of playoff in those rounds go to Rockport. That's something that we don't talk a lot about. That could make a big difference. Listen, this Rockport team is not ranked, but they've been there. They're not scared. They're not nervous. I know Ace is still a young quarterback, but there's a lot of leadership on this Pirate team. These guys have been there. They played big roles in those victories, in those teams that they played when they lost to Navarro in the third round when they were freshmen. But then the Wimberley, they've been in these big games before. They know, these boys know what it takes to win. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Cuero. I'm just saying Rockport's coming in with more playoff experience than these guys from Cuero have been in that second round, because the last 2 years, they weren't in the playoff. They didn't even have a 500 record. I think they were 3-6 or 7, 5-something, 5-5 maybe. So there's an advantage there that people don't talk about when you go into Friday's game. So that's interesting. That's something we'll have to talk about more on the podcast when we preview this game on Wednesday. I just wanted to bring that up to give you guys something to think. But to me, Smithville is a better team this year. Props for the regular season they have, but they were not at that level with Cuero, obviously, or Navarro. Even though they played good, I never thought Navarro was going to lose this game. I thought they were going to win. Now, Navarro's not, I don't think, as dominant. I know they beat Cuero, but Cuero had 2 turnovers, 2 critical turnovers in that game against Navarro that turned it around. They were able to move the ball on Navarro. The thing that was surprising to me was Navarro was able to move the ball on that Cuero defense as well. And they run that slot T that it appears gave Cuero a little bit of trouble. Rockport comes similar with the slot T, just out of the shotgun now. They're passing. So, I'm just saying that's one thing that Cuero seemed to have a little bit of trouble. And Navarro didn't score 50 points, but it kept them on the field and driving where that offense couldn't come on and get those high points. So this might be something for Rockport's offense. We would like to score, but I think we need to control the game too, the clock, to keep that high power offense of Cuero off the field like we did Miller 2 years ago. If the offense ain't on the field, they can't score points, right? So Rockport takes some momentum, drive, but score. It's a formula for Rockport to beat Cuero.
All righty. So next game we have Wimberley. Again, this is not one of those games that has a lot of words for it. Wimberley takes the win 56-0 over Navasota. Johnny?
Oh. So I might have thrown I might have missed. I think there's some misinformation that was passed along while we were predicting this game.
Tell me about it.
Not for me.
I heard it through somebody on Facebook, or saw it on somewhere on Facebook, or heard it from somebody.
He heard it on the internet, so it must be true.
It's true.
That came from him, though. He said the information. That came from him.
The Wimberley quarterback had broken his arm. That's what I heard.
That's what you said. I remember
That's
that.
what I said. I remember.
So Steve switched his pick.
Yeah. So I want that pick back.
I saw this score, and I'm like, Navasota can't be that bad. They cannot be that bad. I mean,
Navasota's quarterback.
There had been like some kind of competition in this game. But when you're, what was it? Hijuela. Damn, I forgot what I was looking at.
You're looking at quarterbacks.
Wembley-
Quarterbacks being hurt. They couldn't play that bad.
So, anyways, I looked it up. So this quarterback that played this game
For Wembley.
Well, for Wembley, he had 120 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, you know. His name is Cash McAllen. So, like, you know, so I'm like, did this really happen? I mean, like, did he really destroy this team himself? I look on his stats for the season. This boy has 1,800 yards passing. There's no way he's the second. He has the highest passing yards on the team by far. There's no way he's a backup quarterback throwing 1,800 yards. You know, so I think I was.
Why'd you tell Steve that?
Yeah.
I heard
Is that what we're gonna resort to on these picks, man? Lying to each other, giving misinformation. Golly.
It was McAllister. It was, dude. There was these picks on Facebook about the bracket, breaking it down who was going to play who, and he had picked Navasota to go on. And I was all like, "No, Wembley is Wembley broke the starting quarterback broke his arm. I don't think they're going to have a chance."
Oh my, yeah. That internet will do you every time. Yeah,
But,
I at least I like people to just lie in my face, Johnny.
But the running back Moses Ray, he only had 5 carries for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. Three out of the 5 times he touched the ball, he scored.
Wembley?
For Wembley.
Oh, Navasota had 0.
Moses Ray. Yeah, Corey. But yeah, so apparently the starter, because I don't see a backup quarterback on there. He's playing. He might be playing with a broken arm, but he's playing.
God, and now he's playing with the broken his throwing arm. His throwing arm. That's why he only got 120 yards, because he broke his throwing arm. He's throwing with a
with his left. He's throwing
with his left. Oh my gosh.
But sorry, Steve.
It's all good, man. Misinformation that gets you every time when you don't do it yourself, right? I mean, that shame on me for not fact checking you, but I didn't think I had to. You're my fact guy. You're always been the stat guy.
I just went by internet.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I always try to pick behind you, and and at this time I followed the wrong horse, man. Led me to the water. No, but hey, listen. I mean, so the guy played, right, and he had 120 yards. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on with that? What's going on with that? I mean, Wembley. I mean, passing for 1,800 yards. So they're a passing team. They're passing. We know that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, what was Navasota doing that shut him down? I mean, he didn't. Because it don't make no sense for him to
his left.
Yeah, what I'm saying, it don't make no sense for him to be in the game and them not throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, if their game plan was like to rest him or whatever, then he shouldn't have been on the field playing, period. So if there's no other backup stats, then he played the entire game. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, what happened to the passing attack for Wembley? You know what I'm saying? What was going on? Or did they just go into this game, hey, we're going to run the ball and keep our starting?
They had 300 yards rushing, so they pretty well put it on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy had half the yards.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was kind of sold on the fact that Wembley wasn't the Wembley of old, and their season. You know what I'm saying? They had some losses in there mixed in, and of course they bounced back and had some big wins as well. So they're one of those masquerade teams too. You know what I'm saying? I think they're kind of hard to put your finger on because of their inconsistency. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you can attribute it to early in the season when they took their loss and this and that, and then they kind of bounced back and then became the Wembley of old. But you can't turn it off and turn it on, you know what I'm saying, in the playoffs. So we'll see, you know what I'm saying, what comes to them in the second round. You know, they got Ingleside and we'll see how that goes, you know, but I don't want to, you know, I've already said that Ingleside was going to have their struggle. So I can't flip my pick and say, oh, now Ingleside, because this guy's throwing with his left hand, you know what I'm saying? But whatever, man, I took the loss on that one and my fault.
Gabriel?
The better team won. All the stats. I mean, you know, we move on to round 2. Navasota has not been the team that we saw when we played them.
Can Ingleside play with Wimberley?
Hey, they hung with Sinton.
I think they can.
I like Ingleside, and I know we're off topic, Tony, and I apologize, but you know, I love their defense down there. But, you know, everything else kind of in between, they just make too many mistakes for me, you know what I'm saying? And bad moments, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll be playing super well and their defense has them in the game. And it just seems like, you know, a bad call here or there. And you know, and it kind of like, wow, what were they thinking right there or something like that, you know, or, you know, carrying the ball loosely, you know, running down the sidelines, you know, we've seen that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, those guys are going to have to really, really focus on what they're doing every play, you know what I'm saying, for them to be successful. It seems like they just like, there's moments in the game where they lack the concentration, which, you know, makes you like hard to want to really buy into, like, man, can they do it? You know, are they mature enough to eliminate those mistakes? I think if they eliminate their mistakes, Ingleside, I think, I mean, I'd be on that bandwagon because, you know, I love a good defensive team, but it's just the mistakes that are in between there. And it just makes me hard to get behind it.
Bro, were you going to comment on that? He asked you if you think Ingleside could beat Wimberley.
I don't think they can beat Wimberley this year. Because I think what also plays into what Steve was saying was I do see what he's saying for some reason, and I haven't been able to pinpoint why. Ingleside makes their wins a lot harder than they have to be because they're a very talented team. Defensively, I saw them last year. They have the defense to compete in the playoffs. They do. They have a great defense. They had one last year, and I think it got better this year. Their offense came alive this year, better than last year. So I would say that they both offense and defense have improved. I think where they've got to play the 4 quarters. They don't seem to finish the games the way they started. They start strong, they don't finish strong. But in this game against Wimberley, I think what's going to hurt where Wimberley has the advantage over Ingleside is the playoff experience. Wimberley has a ton of experience in the playoffs. Playing in the playoffs and knowing what it takes to get Ingleside still first time they've been to the second round, I think, in a while. So this is going to be a big game for them. So I think what you want to get, if I was Ingleside, definitely want to win the game. And I know Coach Hamrick wants to win the game, but I want to see them play 4 quarters of competitive football, mistake-free. Like you said, it just kind of seems like in big moments, they lose that concentration. Or they just seem to just not play with the intensity they do in the first half. And then the mistakes start to happen and it really puts them out of the game. So I like to see them play. To Johnny's point, they played Sinton. Wimberley's not as tough as Sinton. And Ingleside hung in with Sinton. So I think that, yes, they could win the game. But from what I've seen and what's concerning to me, Tony and Steve, Johnny, is the way that they let Devine back a week ago into the game. They didn't dominate. They dominated them, but they let them back in the game. That's what would concern me a little. And that's why I think after watching that game, I think Wimberley will win it. But Ingleside definitely capable. They can put 4 quarters together because they have the defense to play. It's just a matter of can they do it for 4 quarters. Play good defensively and offensively to give themselves a chance to beat a good Wimberley team is what the question is for me.
You do realize you flipped 3 times in that one conversation. You went with Wimberley, then you went with Ingleside, and you went back to Wimberley.
Well, I'm just kind of giving you the whole thing with the game. I think what I said was basically all the facts. They haven't played for 4 quarters is the problem. Wimberley has the experience. Even if Ingleside plays for 4 quarters, the experience is still with Wimberley. But it's just like Rockport. Rockport has the experience the past 2 years over Cuero. Where you could, I just gave you the layout with Cuero. Yeah, Cuero's the favorite to beat Rockport. Why is that? Why is that? These guys hadn't done nothing the last 2 years, so they ain't even been in the playoffs.
The silly state rankings and how much they put in behind a cheap, or I ain't gonna call it cheap. I take that back, guys. A win, you know what I'm saying? A big win early in the season.
But you know what? But the reality is Cuero could beat Rockport. The reality is Rockport doesn't have it given, even though the experience with Rockport, Cuero still has a very good chance of beating Rockport. That's what I'm saying. To me, the playoffs, the problem with Ingleside is that they haven't put 4 quarters together. We've seen that. They've been very competitive. They were first half competitive with Rockport. They were very competitive with Sinton. And even in this game last week, they were beating Devine, yet they let them back in. That's what's concerning. And that, I think, is what's going to hurt them against Wimberley. So I pick Wimberley for what I've seen this past week, but you never know. You play the game. I mean, Ingleside could play their best game coming in. Wimberley's beatable. They're not as dominant as they have been in the past. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see.
But we'll see. We'll see. We have 2 games left. Games that really don't matter in our neck of the woods, but we'll go over them because we previewed them. We got Edna with coming up big over Bishop, 67-21. Johnny, have anything on this game?
Only then. Yeah, this was pretty obvious on this one. I remember I circled Bishop on this one. I don't know what I was thinking. I forgot who Edna was.
I still have you down for Bishop.
I don't know who I thought was Edna, but
you thought it was the girl from the Churches commercial?
I don't know, dude. It was just one of those quick pick things. But now, I mean, the obvious was the rushing attack on both teams. I mean, Edna had 253, and Bishop only had 27 yards rushing. So
can't win like that.
Yeah, pretty lopsided there.
Yo, mine, I don't have you switching back to Edna. I still have you on the Bishop that you circle. Steve?
Yeah, no, I don't got much to add to this. And other than like you said, way early, somebody's got to take that 4th seed, and Bishop was the one. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
they got to take 4 teams, and Bishop was there. So that's it.
Gabriel?
No, Edna will be good this year. They're going to do some. They're going to make some noise in the playoffs. It's a very good team. They were up there. They were able to compete with Feria. They lost, but they were able to compete. So I think they'll win in the second round, maybe even the third round. That's a tough team, Edna.
Yeah, they got Blanco next week. They should win that game. We'll see. Last game we have Canyon Lake falling to Bernie 21-28. It's a close game, but Bernie takes the win. In this game, Johnny, you picked Canyon Lake. Is there a reason why?
Canyon Lake had the lead. They choked it in the second half. They got outscored 21-0 in the second half.
Man, we're talking about playing 4 quarters. You got to play 2 halves. I mean, that's even worse. Dang. And if you're going to play 1 half, you at least play the second half.
So, yeah, they had it. I had it. I was all like, yes, yes.
Steve, you have anything to add on this game?
No comment here. I mean, this was a total shot in the dark for me, boys. I'm not even going to lie. It's my first year getting involved with you guys, and it's hard enough just keeping up with the coastal Bend area teams. So venturing out that far is just kind of out of my thing. So I just totally took a shot. Who did I follow? Who picked Bernie with me?
Bernie, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, me and Gabriel and you.
Oh, all 3 of us. Well, there you go. I just follow the pack. I'm just a follower.
Well,
Right, Johnny? Broken arm, Johnny.
nah, I'll tell you why I picked Bernie though, just so that you know.
Okay.
This is a team that knocked out GP. You know, this is that game, that
Yeah,
pickup
yeah,
game that they had. They were
yeah.
supposed to play. I don't even remember who they were supposed to play, but you know they pick them up like on a Wednesday to play on Friday, and you know they were scheduled to play someone else, and they go down there and they come down here and beat GP.
Did they
So
roast him?
and nah, it wasn't. No, because GP was competitive, and that's one thing that said about GP when they lost that game is that they were competitive against a team that they didn't know nothing about, that they weren't prepared for, and they were very competitive. But nonetheless, they still beat a really good GP team, and at the time we didn't know that GP was as good as they were because they had lost to Calallen and then lost to them, so we didn't know how good GP was. But you know, having seen how GP's season unfolded, going thinking back to that game that they beat GP in, I'm like, oh shoot, I don't know nothing about Canyon Lake, but I know that this team beat GP, and I know how good GP is, and that's why I picked them.
Aha.
So that was my thought process. Gabriel?
I remember now. It was my Canyon Lake. It was the 34-28 loss against LBJ.
Oh, because they were close.
Yeah.
I guess so. But
You're talking about
Bernie,
Canyon Lake. You're talking about Canyon Lake, Johnny.
Yeah. Yes. Canyon Lake. Only 34-28 loss against LBJ.
What were you gonna say,
Yeah.
Tony?
That's 4A Division 1. We're talking about Bernie beating a 5A Division 1 team.
I like to see LBJ GP. You tell me the
I don't
outcome of
know.
that.
I don't know. I think GP beats him.
This year, not next year.
No,
You think GP beats him?
no, GP can't even. No, GP won't be LBJ this year.
You don't think
It'll
so?
be no, hell no. LBJ's gonna blow. I'll tell you what. LBJ's gonna blow out GP. Calallen. Calallen's not gonna get past him. No one's gonna get past LBJ out of this region. Not
So
from
you're
what
telling
I
me
saw.
this Canyon Lake team that he said was just close, this Canyon Lake team that lost to Bernie, that was close versus LBJ, that same LBJ can't get beat by a Calallen or
Well,
a
this
GP?
game wasn't a blowout.
Yeah, Calallen
It
won't.
It
wasn't
wasn't a
either.
blow. That's
Calallen
It
won't.
should have been. It should have been Canyon's game.
I don't
It
know.
should have
I
been.
think if this
It
Canyon
should have
Lake
been.
team could
But
be
guys,
close
Bernie.
to LBJ.
I'll tell you why I picked Bernie. Bernie. I watched him last year. It's Bernie Greyhounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I watched him last year play against Miller. I saw the roster. Had a lot of guys coming back. They were good. They just couldn't handle the speed that Miller had. That's why Miller beat them. Offensively, they could score. They scored on Miller. Defensively, Miller was too fast for them. The corner, they just that high power offense that Miller had just blew them out. But Miller also hung in there with LBJ. So I just thought Bernie was going to be the better team. Just from the roster that I saw last year, where they had coming back, I thought they were going to be better than Canyon Lake, based on what I saw last year between Bernie and Miller. But no one's going to beat LBJ this year from the 4A Division 1. I don't think. I think they're
mean
just,
in Region 4, you mean? Or you mean period?
LBJ. No, in Region 4. Once they get out, they'll be the team that represents Region 4, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't think Calhoun will beat them. I don't think Miller will beat them. They couldn't beat them last year. These guys are undefeated yet. They haven't lost a game yet this year. They're 11-0. So they have a lot of talent. Now, of course, you got to play the game, but to me, they would be the favorite to come out. We'll see what happens.
Well, that completes all the games from last week's breakdown or predictions. What do y'all want to do?
No, we'll preview it. We'll do the preview. I'll have to reschedule and send it out to you guys. I'll have to in the
Hey, we
morning.
did skip one game.
What
What
game did I
game?
skip?
The team that's more likely going to win the state championship.
Rockport? We talked about Rockport.
The Bobcats.
Were they on
Tony,
here?
you let go. Yeah, I put them on there.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, Feria. They played what? Santa Maria. Or something
Santa
like that.
Maria. Ahina, Santa
Saint
Maria.
Maria.
Oh,
Maria
that
de
one.
Dios.
That one I didn't have. That one I didn't have. My bad.
It was on
So
the
we're
schedule
Feria
last
1.
week. Yes. And guys, by the way, I'm gonna go to the Referral Shiner game. If anybody wants to go in a few weeks, if they meet
I
up.
thought that I thought that's when Rockport was playing Sinton.
Well, if they do, then I can't go, but we'll see.
Man,
But
I don't like the odds you're giving us.
it's if Rockport plays, obviously I'm gonna go watch Rockport. Hopefully one play on Thursday, one on Friday, but or Friday and Saturday. But if they don't, definitely go into that game. It's gonna be a good one. Listen, guys, this was great, man. I know it's a lot, but you know, we want to get as many as we can in. That's my thought process, because as the Coastal Bend area teams start to get eliminated in the second, third round, it's going to get small here. We got to get up to these schools up here and see what they're doing, especially in the 5 and the 4A and these smaller schools. So it'll be good, man. I'll have to just put down tomorrow. I'll look at the schedule. We're kind of full now, but we'll have to fit in this preview either on Wednesday or Thursday. I'll let you guys know. I'll look it up and see when we can do it. But thank you guys very much. This was the breakdown from the first round that was on the GI64 schedule. We'll preview the second round sometime either Wednesday or Thursday. I'll send it out to you guys. Tomorrow, I do want to say I'm going to be up in Victoria watching the Rockport-Fulton Pirate boys basketball team. It's the first game. So I want to get out there and see what the season's going to look like for us. And of course, Wednesday we'll have on the Pirates Cove, the head coach for Rockport-Fulton Pirates, Jay Seibert. And then I'll continue to tell you Wednesday who we got coming on Thursday. And then, of course, we got the big game that we'll be at with Rockport and Rockport-Fulton Pirates against Cuero Gobblers at Victoria. It's going to be a good one, guys. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time, guys. Get some rest. If anybody wants to go with me to the game tomorrow, the game starts at 6:15 to Victoria. Just send me a text. Let me know. If I don't get a text, that means you guys had other plans. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Till then, guys, thanks a lot. And I'll send you the messages through our messenger. Have a great night, fellas.
Good night, fellas.
Man.